What is the biggest story? We're 2 weeks into the baseball season. Biggest story in baseball that does not involve torpedo bats.
Oh man, I was gonna say that the Milwaukee Brewers should get a tip from all the bat companies for the millions of dollars they've been made by having a terrible series against the Yankees to start the year, because every hitter now wants one of these freaking bats. That's a good question. What is the biggest story? I don't. It's it's fairly early still, as that's a pretty revelatory statement. I think that sort of the Dodgers' pursuit of a dynasty is going to be something that's fascinating to track as the year goes along. I think there's a lot of competitive division races. The Atlanta Braves getting off to such a sluggish start. While I don't think it's going to have like long-term consequences in terms of them missing the postseason, I think they should be fine. It does put a real crimp in their sort of championship potential and like winning the division in a competitive NL East. I think the AL East should be fun. So it's kind of hard for me because like I try not to assign too much meaning to anything that happens really in the first month or so of the season. Like I like to say like all of these games count, but they don't really matter per se. All that matters is kind of like injuries and things like that. So yeah, the torpedo bats are the biggest story, that even though they've kind of petered out. And I think the Yankees scored like 6 runs this week against the Tigers. And so maybe it wasn't just the bats. Maybe the Brewers just had a terrible weekend.
Oh, and from what I understand, too, the Yankees were integrating these last year. Just nobody noticed that they were doing it. And so then it became this massive thing. It's not like this is, rocket science actually would have solved this quite a while ago. I was going to say it's not rocket science. It's like, hey, should we have the bat be better at the part they hit it on? No. Let's keep it at that other part that if it hits that, it just kind of makes a weird sound and wobbles down the first baseline. Like that was just how it was for like 150 years.
It's like every innovation in sports that as soon as it happens, you're like, well, yeah, 3 points are worth more than 2. Like you should take more of those. Or like, well, if you hit the ball over the fence, that's better than trying to bunt, Or like if you've played Madden, going for it on 4th and 2 will drive your friend crazy. He wants you to punt there. So yeah, but I do think it is an interesting sort of innovation. It's something that a lot of hitters have been sort of clamoring for. They feel like they're losing the technology war to pitchers. Pitchers have a lot of ways of like sort of shaping their individual offerings and things like that, and so hitters are viewing it as a way to maybe even the playing field in some ways. And I think for some guys, players who make consistent contact in a certain part of the bat that maybe might not be the barrel, it could have a real positive effect. But is it going to revolutionize the sport? No, it's not.
You mentioned the Braves and the slow start. Again, we don't want to make a lot out of a small sample size. But what's the level of concern, if any, about the start the Braves are off to?
Yeah, it's troubling. Like I said, I don't think it's going to wreck their season. I think teams go through bad stretches, but it is more of a sort of narrative problem when it happens at the beginning of the year as compared to like a random week in June. The injury to Ronaldo Lopez is a real problem for their starting rotation. Jurickson Profar getting suspended. He was kind of their big offseason addition, to sort of bolster the lineup. They're really hoping that Ronald Acuna, the former MVP outfielder, and Spencer Strider, their former, all-star starter, when they come back from injury, that those guys will be able to sort of buoy the club. And I think the players both will be effective and good, but coming off injury, it's just hard to pencil in Acuna as being this like 7-win superstar that he was, before he tore his ACL, or for Strider's case, coming off of an internal brace operation on his elbow, that he's going to be like a number 1 starter right away. He looks good facing minor league hitters. He should be fine. They both should be effective, but it's hard to say like, oh, they'll just be the guys they had been. So still a good club, still a lot of talent, but they're in a very competitive division and they're scuffling to start the year.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.